How is it going, everybody? Welcome to the Paws Up preview as we get ready for the FIU football team to head up the road, up to East Hartford, and take on the UConn Huskies. No, this isn't basketball. This is football. So I am Jake Gibson, joined alongside my friend and co-host Kevin Barral. And Kevin, I got to tell you, we had the week off. Are you feeling rested, rejuvenated, ready to go for this upcoming road trip to East Hartford?
Well, we will not be in East Hartford, unfortunately. But yes, I think this was, as people don't get it, man. As much as the bye week helps the players, the coaches, damn, it helps us too, right?
Yes.
It lets us unwind, not think about the craziness.
Yeah.
It lets us go back to our lives to really, just unwind and deal with other things, right? And I think that's what the bye week helped us out with, for sure. Helped me out a lot, and allowed me to really disconnect and take a step back. And I think that definitely was nice. I tell you, I didn't talk about FIU football that much during the bye week, if not at all. I didn't think about UConn. I didn't think about anyone. The first time I saw Willie Simmons since the game was on Monday, which we're recording this on Tuesday. I saw him at the coaches show. That's the first time I had seen him since the game. So, and any player, honestly. So it was nice to be back. It's finally good to get it going. And you kind of noted this at the press conference. Back-to-back road games, not going to be easy. And two really good teams, right? So this last real week of Saturday football until the end of the year. So it's not going to be easy, but it's the start of the midweeks, so it's going to be pretty crazy moving on.
Mm-hmm. It also gave you an opportunity to be able to cover the season finale for the Marlins as they trolled the Mets to missing out on a playoff. So you got to do that uninterrupted, and we got to record some episodes, which I hope you all have enjoyed.
We have one more for the next
we have some more cooking leading up to this game. So yeah. We hope you all enjoyed that, and I hope we're going to get to enjoy a really good game between the Panthers and the Huskies. Now, before we do that, let's talk about FIU's loss to Delaware here real quick, because in the last episode, we kind of sort of talked about it, but at the same time, not really. We just talked about some aspects, good and bad, about the team that were kind of related to what we saw against Delaware. So let's really, at this point, dive into that game. And, I mean, what do you really want to say? FIU was not good to go. A lot of people were saying Shulable hangover. How true is that really, to an extent, as to how this Panthers team just came into this game looking so slow, so sloppy, maybe overlooking their opponent being the Delaware Fighting Blue Hens?
Yeah, you said it. I think it's a little bit of like hangover and just not really coming out with the energy. And Willie kind of noted that in the press conference today, or actually yesterday at the coaches show. He noted just didn't come out with the energy, didn't play the right way, came out really slow, and never were able to catch up. So I just credit it to that. I don't even want to talk about that Delaware game anymore, and I think you don't either because it was bad. And
it was bad.
It's been a couple weeks, right? So, yes, not a good game, didn't play well. Kiwan just continues to not look great, and he's going back to a place where he really had a nice first half of football. So you're hoping he puts it all together at UConn, a team that knows him well, and head coach Jim Mora noted that, he's a really good player and he's a really dynamic guy. And they're definitely going to be looking at him as someone who they need to stop. So that's definitely one of the things. But yeah, overall, the Delaware game, the run game did get it going. Unfortunately, they just really hadn't seen that type of offense. I think it's the best way to put it. They haven't seen that type of quarterback. And they're looking at a completely different quarterback this week. So we'll talk about him. We'll talk about that offense because that is a very good offense. But Delaware just outplayed FIU. They got outcoached. Willie was very open, very truthful, I think, as to what occurred. He said he got outplayed and he got outcoached, and there's no other way to put it. He had seen a lot of different things that, they just weren't ready for. And despite any adjustments at the half, just didn't work out. So tough game.
It was a tough game for sure. Now, we spoke about this in the last episode, actually, but I wanted to highlight it again. And it was kind of, I'm not going to say the resurgence, but definitely the really good performance by Alex Perry in that game. Above all else, you have to find positives to take away from these kind of games where not much goes your way. What Alex Perry was able to do, however, definitely was something that's very positive, because we've been talking about this all the time. What's this wide receiver what's this passing offense going to look like for FIU? How is it going to evolve, and how fast will it evolve? And what we saw from Alex Perry in that game was a great indication of what it could be. Perry could be that wide receiver one option that they go to for man coverage, for all those sorts of options. He proved that in the Delaware game, and I'm really hoping they go back to him against the Huskies.
Yeah, one of the injury updates that Willie provided was that Juju Lewis, who many expected to be back for this particular game, will not. They're hoping it's Western Kentucky because of a little bit more, couple days more rest, maybe. So, yeah, Alex Perry looked really good. I think Willie also noted just the conditioning. He was one of those guys who was really affected by the Florida heat, really just wasn't able to get it going completely, and little by little seemed to finally build up that stamina, build up whatever he needed to build up to get to the point where they finally felt like he was used very well. He looked like the Alex Perry that they brought in for that Delaware game. So he looked really good. Easily still is the number one target for Kiwan. And he's a guy who's really going to make a lot of impact after the catch. And that's how they see him. They see him, yeah, as a 50-50 guy, but he's not the guy who's really, you give him a short little pass, he'll get moving. And he's a pretty fast dude. So I'm really excited to see what he looks like against this UConn team, a defense that has really struggled this season. Doesn't look very good. They've kept it close with a lot of teams that they really shouldn't have, Ball State, Buffalo. But then they play a team like Syracuse up until overtime, who they almost beat. So, and then Delaware, they took to overtime too. So yeah, it's a tale of two stories with this UConn defense. But I think Alex Perry has a really good chance to get to them, and he's been really good these last two games, the Shule Bowl and then the Delaware game.
To all the doubters who maybe have underlooked the importance of Brian Blades to this defense, I think the Delaware game was a good example of how important this guy is to this unit as a whole. And like you were talking about injury updates from Simmons, it looks like more likely than not that he will be good to go against the Huskies, which is amazing news for this Panthers secondary, Kevin.
Yeah, and not just at the secondary position, but on special teams. And Willie noted at the press conference just how much worse, I guess is the best way to put it. The FIU special teams or the punt unit looked. He's a gunner on the punt team. And he said that if Brian Blades was there, he would have made that tackle 10 times out of 10. Kenneth Gilstrap, the special teams coordinator, also kind of said that with that play, because I did ask just what happened, right? Because you don't usually see those. They thought he had called for a fair catch, and everyone kind of stopped. And that's what leads to the Willie saying post-game that there were 5 guys in Biscayne blue not tackling him, right? So I think that's what happened there. You don't want to see that happen. But yes, Blades is huge. He's a big piece for this team. And I'd spoken to someone and they told me that Blades would be back for this game regardless of what happened. He was evaluated today. So at this point, probably already good to go, 100%. I don't know if he's practiced at all. But yeah, he's a big piece that they really need because they have UConn has Skylar Bell, one of the top group of 5 receivers in the country, or top receivers in the country, a Blinkoff Award watch list guy, so he's a really good player, really fast wide receiver, according to Simmons, and he's going to be someone that they're really going to have to try to stop this weekend.
Yeah. Special teams. Another setback against Delaware. What do they got to get right against UConn? My goodness, I'm not asking for them to play perfect. I just want to see them stop making these crucial mistakes that lead to points for the other team.
Yeah, and again, Willie noted this. Not Willie, Kenneth Gilstrap, which I actually agree with this. It was a lot of self-inflicted wounds. Getting the pump blocks, you feel like it's just a communication thing, the way you lined up, the punt return for a touchdown, like blocked punts, that type of stuff comes down to self-inflicted wounds. That really isn't something that they did better than you did. And they got to rebuild Trey Wilhoit's confidence back because his last couple punts have not looked good at all. And, outside of the Bethune game, it's just been really underwhelming stuff from a guy who was an All-American in the FCS level. So that's been really disappointing. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm not too worried. I think that's an area in the team that you would think fixes itself. And if this continues to be an issue, then you have a problem.
Is Gilstrap the youngest coach at FIU? He looks like he could put on the cleats tomorrow and get back on the field.
That's a good question. I don't know who the youngest coach is. He's probably up there.
He's probably in the running.
It's got to be either him or Coleman as the youngest. There are 2 former players literally not too long ago.
He looks like he could put on the helmet and go another game or two. He
doesn't. No offense. He's a young guy, but no.
Damn. Okay.
Maybe give him like a couple months or a year to really build back up, but no, he cannot play football anymore. Sorry.
If you're watching this.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Not that
Final thoughts on this game, Kevin. I mean, Delaware came in, kicked butt. I'd say they're probably one of the better teams in Conference USA, which is kind of nuts. And after what we saw in this past week, I really don't know who is by far the without a doubt best team in CUS. I think it's still open for debate.
I would disagree with that. I think Western's still the top team in Conference USA, despite a little bit of struggles. And I'm surprised they're favored against Delaware. I think that's just more because it's a home game for the Blue Hens, and they're 3-1. They're at the top of the conference. So I think Western is the best team, and they're really going to, not humble, but they're really going to show, they're going to give them a rude awakening to Conference USA, I think, on Friday, that game on Friday. So, yeah, I'm saying that as I knowing that FIU has to go up to Bowling Green next weekend or 2 weeks for midweek action there. And it's not going to be easy, but I think FIU has a decent shot regardless against the rest of the way through. But, yes, Western Kentucky is the cream of the crop of Conference USA, and they're going to give Delaware a piece of Maverick McIver.
Is that so? Well. We'll see. We'll see about that as we get to conference. We'll see if I agree.
I want to hear from you. What's your opinion on this?
It's going to be
a conversation now. We don't have a lot more to talk about. So
this is going to be a rather short thing. Listen, the Delaware game, it sucked. Okay, it was a bad game for Simmons. It was a bad game for the players. You just have to move on, right? And I said this right after the game ended. Thank God this kind of game happened now for FIU as opposed to down the stretch when you take on Middle Tennessee or Liberty, when nothing's going your way. Thank God that happened now and not towards the latter end of the season where you don't want that to happen more than anything else.
I think if that happened towards the latter end of the season, like you said, you'd feel a lot more. Well, first of all, you would know what your team is at that point, right? You know what you have, you know what works, what doesn't. But at the same time, you would be a little concerned, right? Like let's say this. FIU goes, I'm assuming they'll lose to Western. Then they play Kennesaw. They'll beat Kennesaw. And you go back on the road to play Missouri State. If you lose to Missouri State, I'll feel a little concerned. Not a little. Actually, I'll feel pretty concerned about the team where they're at.
That's where you hit the panic button.
If you lose to Kennesaw, I'll feel concerned.
That's the big-time panic button.
Kennesaw's the big-time panic button is Missouri State. I would feel very concerned if FIU falls to Missouri State because I said I could still see 4 wins on the schedule. I see it as Kennesaw, Mo State, Middle Tennessee, Sam Houston. Those are 4.
Maybe Liberty. Liberty's a toss-up.
Liberty. Yeah, exactly. But if those 4 wins that I said aren't wins, you got to feel somewhat concerned, right? Because in years past, these are games you need to win. Those games where you're clearly the better team, you got to win. And unfortunately, FIU didn't show that against Delaware.
Yeah, I think 6 wins is still very much there, but I think beating Delaware was going to be a big part of that in my mind. So the fact that they didn't do that,
I think 8 wins is where Delaware was part of that, right? But even then, I mean, this conference is wide open. I still think it'll be Western Kentucky in the championship game. After that, you don't know.
I don't know who it could be. I mean, Liberty's got a good defense, but that offense did not look special.
Delaware can't make it. Missouri State can't make it. Sam Houston's already 0-4. I don't think they're going to be much better than they already are.
At this point,
Liberty 1-4, 0-1 already in conference play. Not going to be easier. UTEP doesn't look like they're going to be great. You know, it's crazy to say. Oh, New Mexico State sucks. La Tech.
Okay.
La Tech is like the quiet team that's 4-1 right now. So. Well, I don't know, man. I don't know.
That would certainly be a great story for them on their way out of Conference USA.
That would be insane. It would. And I think a lot of it is carried by their defense. They'll get exposed at some point.
You said the Missouri State was the panic game. I'm saying Kennesaw is the panic game. On Vice Night at Pit Bull Stadium, you have to win. If you can't beat the Owls, which they've looked good at times, admittedly, but they are still bottom tier CUSA. I will die on that hill. You have to beat them. But I mean, we're getting a bit further away because we still have UConn, we have Western Kentucky, and you still have all those days off after the UConn game. Western Kentucky, which I still hate. But it makes sense. I guess you need it to transition to the midweeks. So let's start talking about those UConn Huskies here a little bit. Kevin, they had an amazing season last year. You go to it's dub after dub in the regular season. You beat up UNC and at Fenway Park. This season, it hasn't really been as amazing for them. They beat up on Central Connecticut. That's the FCS, big whoop. You have a respectable loss in overtime to Syracuse. You have a slightly less respectable loss to Delaware, also in overtime. But they are coming into this game on a 2-game heater with a close win over Ball State and a close win over Buffalo. This team does not dominate. They kind of make it tough on themselves, but they have won back-to-back games. So they're going to be on a hot streak.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at this now, and I guess they updated it. Right now, and we'll start with the quarterback, Joe Fagnano. I think that's a name of a couple of FIU fans. If you're really a really diehard guy who looks at FCS rosters, exactly, you would know who this is. This is the guy who was supposed to start the main game, got hurt, had to see Drew Robertson, who ended up beating FIU on Monmouth. So, Fagnano, 7th year in college football.
That's crazy.
He currently finds himself 24th in the country in passing yards. He is yet to throw an interception this season. Their running back, Cam Edwards, is currently 5th in the country in rushing yards. So it's going to be tough. There's another way to put it. And, I mean, I could try to find where this other guy is receiving yards. Skylar Bell, who's there. Wide receiver. He currently, I guess that's the only good one. He's not even top 50 in receiving yards. So they've definitely, I lie. He's 4th in the country in receiving yards. Fuck me. Sorry, Jake. And, yeah, look, UConn's offense is really damn good. They're top 30 in the country in passing offense. Like, they're a team that's a really good offense with some 3 awesome pieces. I don't know how many times Fagnano's been sacked or whatever, but they're a good team. And regardless of what you want to say, I think their defense is where the struggles come in. It's going to be tough. They're playing at UConn. It's their crucial catch game, the cancer awareness game. It is also their homecoming game. So it's going to be a packed house, 3:30 in stores. Won't be easy at all. But I think FIU, and I think the big key of this game, and I know you'll talk about this with your guest, is FIU's defense needs to step up in a big way. You're getting Percy Courtney back, which we hadn't talked about. He's been practicing since the bye week, so that's huge. You have him, Chaney, Josiah Taylor. Those 3 guys are probably going to rotate in some sort of way. You also have Blades coming back. That's huge because he's going to have to face Skylar Bell, who's currently, as I noted, 4th in the country in receiving yards. And then your defensive line needs to step the hell up. Like, there's no other way to say it. They need to step up, got to apply pressure to Fagnano. It helps that guy like Gilstrap has faced this team before. It helps that a couple guys on this FIU team from 2023 have faced this team before. But UConn's a very good football team. I don't think record speaks itself. I think their defense is the weakness, but their offense is really good. And if things go south for FIU early, there's no coming back from that. And they could potentially get blown out. I see a world where FIU could get blown out in this game, worse than what they happened to Delaware.
I know you mentioned it too, Coach Simmons, like how important will it be that a lot of players at FIU were in that UConn game. And he said, I don't know. We'll find it out. We'll find out, which is funny. But, yeah, that UConn game a couple of years ago was very frustrating, admittedly. They won, but they made it as hard on themselves as they could in the second half. So FIU's defense has a challenge for them against this UConn offense in one specific category, being the turnover battle, because Fagnano has not thrown a pick. I believe they only have like a forced fumble or 2. What does this defense need to do to make sure they finally get some turnovers against the Huskies? Because if they want to win this game, I have a feeling that's going to be one of the biggest things they need to come out of this game with, which is some interceptions, which is some fumbles, which is something else that goes their way on defense that way.
Yeah, one thing that Willie mentioned, one thing that I think both coaches mentioned, plus Mr. Clark, is like, this is a guy who's seen just about everything at this point. 7 years in college football, Jesus, you better have seen just about everything possible from the FCS to the FBS ranks, like all of it. But if I will say one thing is they need to apply pressure similar to what they did at the FAU game and force bad throws. Force the force. I think is the best way to say it, right? Force the forced throws. And if you do that, you will cause an interception. And I think this is an FIU team that could definitely do that. They don't have a turnover at all this year. So no fumble, nothing. They have been a very clean football team. And against Buffalo, I want to say that they did not have a single penalty. So it ain't looking good, I will say. It ain't looking good on offense. If FIU's defense steps up and they hold it down, then you need to let your offense cook. But I think a big thing is that you can't let your defense be out on the field for too long. They can't get tired. It's a big issue in the Delaware game. It was the same case in the Penn State game. 2 of the losses. Defense was out there for a little too long. You got to get out of there. 3 and outs. Come on, right? 3 and outs.
Yeah.
Let's get good position. Let's make long drives happen because this UConn defense is not good. Their defense is not good. I think it'll be a high-scoring game because solely of that. But if FIU has a big first half like they did in 2023 against UConn where they put up 24 points, 27 points, whatever it was, and you hold it down to the second half and you let your offense cook, you're looking at a really good opportunity. But with the pieces that they have and the potential that they have on offense, with the run game and opening it to the pass game to Skylar Bell, it's going to be tough. And Willie, I'll tell you this, and I don't know if you've noticed this, but Willie Simmons does not mention player names much from the opposing team. First time all season long, he's only mentioned Skylar Bell. So clearly there's something that they see in Bell that they haven't seen in other guys. So I'm looking forward to the game. I'm looking forward to the Blades versus Bell matchup specifically. Hopefully it is a 100% healthy Blades. And look, if FIU completely removes Bell from the question or from their offense, shuts him out, which teams have been doing a good job of doing that with Perry, for example, or other guys. Yeah, they're gonna the other quarterbacks, regardless, are gonna have to step up, and they're gonna have to stop this run game. UConn's offense is legit, so
really good.
It's a clean, disciplined offense. Jim Mora is no joke of a coach. He's a really good coach. This is a tough game, however you want to put it.
Yeah, I think you said it good there. I mean, Cam Edwards, great running back, 557 yards, 6 touchdowns. That's really good. And Skylar Bell, the only guy that they actually acknowledge, which is kind of interesting. 499 yards, 4 touchdowns. Great receiver. I mean, when you look past that, I mean, the rest of their receiving core, okay stat-wise, and same thing with the running back room. But you mentioned their defense, not okay. I think their secondary could be a good is a weakness. They have 2 interceptions, only 1 forced fumble on the season now. They do bring pressure. I mean, they have 14 sacks so far this season as opposed to, say, FIU's 8 sacks. So talk about the importance of Kewan to do 2 things. 1, get out of the pocket, scramble out, because he might have to a couple of times. They bring pressure a lot, this UConn defense. And number 2, air it out against what should be I'm not going to say one of the weaker secondaries you've taken so far this season. It's only been like 4 or 5 opponents anyway. But it should be one where you could have great success because you have Perry, and hopefully you bring back McGuire Anderson. That would be pretty cool. But it's a secondary I think Kewan could light up.
Yeah, I'm trying to find passing yards allowed where UConn ranks in this, just to see more or less what they, what's like better, right? Their rush defense, their passing defense. Like, where can FIU really stop them? So rushing defense.
Passing yards allowed.
Passing defense. I mean, rushing defense, UConn isn't even in the top 50. Again, their defense is not good. So Kewan, if there's a game where Kewan needs to light it up, and he's done it before. He's done it at that same exact stadium before. So he needs to light it up. Receivers need to get it going. So tough matchup for Kewan, but he has a good opportunity to really get things going against this UConn team, and it has to be early because UConn's offense is going to light it up too, just as much as Kewan will. The one thing that this UConn team may not be able to stop, though, is the run game. And if Keyshawn Owens gets it going, along with Carey and Lyons, and even Kewan gets in on the action, you look at a really opportunistic game for FIU to really put some yards on the ground, but open the passing game. That's the most important thing. FIU needs to open the passing game.
Yes. UConn has given up 232 passing yards, over 232 passing yards per game. That is the 86th worst in FBS. So that's something that, I think they're going to have to capitalize. And if they do that, they can keep up with UConn's offense. And this could be a good old-fashioned gunslinging shootout, kind of like what we saw against Green Bay and Dallas on Sunday night. It's a shame about the tie at the end there. But we won't see that in this game. Yeah. Well, they shouldn't exist in the NFL either. I mean, ties are stupid.
Yeah, I agree.
You should come out of that game either feeling happy your team won or mad that your team lost. You shouldn't be having a neutral feeling like, what? We spent 4 hours and probably $1 billion because it was in Dallas just to watch a tie? That's lame. But I think it's time to get to our guest here, who we have on. It is the CT Scoreboard podcast, a really great show out there in the lovely state of Connecticut. I mean, they do great stuff content-wise with football. I can only imagine how lit their basketball shows are. But we have them on. Kotler and Caravan run the show, Caravan, and we will see what their thoughts are about this game and if they remember that 2023 matchup. So without further ado, let's see what they got to say right now. And how's it going, everybody? We hope you've been enjoying the Paws preview so far. Now it's time to get talking about the UConn Huskies. And joining me here is Jared of the CT Scoreboard podcast covering the UConn Huskies. Jared, how are you doing? I know you're busy with football coverage, but I can only imagine how lit those basketball episodes get.
Oh, that basketball season gets crazy around here, but we're enjoying football, coming off a record year last year for what UConn football has been over the past decade or so. So we're enjoying the football now, and basketball will be here before you know it, but we're gonna sit back and enjoy some football while we can. Yeah,
I mean, definitely. I feel like from an outsider looking in, the football scene there at UConn, it definitely seems to be growing in attendance-wise. It's something, but now they're building a program that I think definitely can sustain success for years to come. Would you say that as far as popularity on campus, obviously basketball is still king, men's and women for that matter, but is football starting to creep in, starting to catch up with them even in the slightest?
Yeah, I think football is starting to grab attention. I think for the longest time, people have just been looking for some competent football here out of UConn. It's been years of 1, 2, 3 wins. And now Jim Mora's really come in here, built a program over these past 4 years here that delivers, that plays competitive games. I know still trying to get over some of the hump against some of these ACC Power 4 teams. But it's a program that's working its way, back to relevancy here. And you're starting to see that. I mean, the home opener this year, student section was packed before they even kicked it off. So I think there's definitely some momentum building here with the program and that fan attention. I think the Northeast can be a little bit of a fickle fan base sometimes. But I think seeing what UConn's been able to put out on the field is getting people excited.
And well, to talk a bit about last season, I mean, to try to top what the Huskies were able to do in 2024 is certainly a tall ask. To not lose to a single Group of 5 team and then to walk into Fenway and take down UNC is definitely going to make 2024 one for the record books for the football program. So far this season, can't exactly say the same. 2 tough losses, both Syracuse and Delaware in OT. But you are on a 2-game winning streak. Expectation-wise, have the Huskies kind of met how you thought the season would go so far, or have they exceeded, or have they not exceeded?
Yeah, I think if you talk to everyone around here, they expected this team to, at a minimum, be competing for a bowl spot and getting to those 6 wins. I think that was kind of the floor for the team this year, with the hopes that they could show some more promise against some of these ACC teams that they've got on the schedule, and trying to be able to pull off some wins there. I mean, you look at the schedule. Some people thought this UConn team could win as many as 10 games, just looking at who they matched up against. But that was going to take a lot. They were going to have to go, on the road and win some of these road games, which are never easy, no matter who you're playing. I know Delaware's just transitioning up to FBS, but they're still a tough out year in and year out. And they brought a good group of players in there, and you had to go on the road for their first home game against an FBS team while they were an FBS team. So things lined up a little bit tricky in some spots for UConn. The football hasn't looked quite as crisp as it did at points last year. But I think right now for a UConn team that's 4-2 or 3-2 rather, could be looking at 5-0 heading into this game. Realistically, they were beating Syracuse for 3 quarters plus of that game. Going back and forth with Delaware, they had Delaware stopped in a PI call on a 4th down, extended the drive, ultimately letting Delaware get that game into overtime. So you look at those 2 games, easily could be 5-0, and I think you're looking at a UConn team, with a lot of momentum heading into this game against FIU, knowing they could be 6-0 heading into the bye week and playing Boston College, a rival, the week after. But I think getting these 2 wins in back-to-back weeks here, you're starting to see some momentum build again with this team.
What is UConn football in your eyes? Are they okay with being a group of 5-esque team? But I mean, they're taking on so many ACC and even Big Ten opponents. I mean, they stack up to what a lot of power conference teams take on season after season. What is this team in your eyes? Are they closer to P4 than G5 or vice versa?
I think UConn wants to position itself in a way where they could be a Power 4 team. I think that's ultimately the goal. I know conference realignment musical chairs has had them left behind. But when you look at the athletic department as a whole, this is an athletic department that expects and competes and spends and invests at a P4 level. And I think you're seeing that with the football team and what they've been doing with increasing amounts of NIL spend coming to this program, increasing year in and year out, going out there and bringing in Jim Morrow, who's a really respectable name out there. When you're looking in football circles, I mean, they took a defensive coordinator, Matt Brock, came to them from Mississippi State. So you're bringing in SEC talent level at some of these coordinator positions. So the team clearly and the program clearly wants to be a P4 team. I think last year showing what they did against some of the group of 5 teams showed that they could compete, at the G5 level at a very high level. And they had a lot of close losses to some of those P4 teams last year when, they played Wake Forest at home, came down to the wire. I mean, this year, again, leading Syracuse for most of the game, lost in overtime. We'll see what happens. They've still got Boston College and Duke still on the schedule coming up this year. They've got Air Force. So they've got some tough outs still. No game's easy for UConn football, as fans have learned. But I think this is a program that's really trying to position itself in a way to show that they can compete at the P4 level.
So, and I imagine the paychecks that they're getting from the ACC teams are probably hitting when you have so many in a season.
Yeah, they've definitely gotten some of these, some of the bye games here. But it's nice to keep the fan base as well, just invested in the program, coming from the Big East, having played Syracuse in football regularly, playing those teams like Pittsburgh, who they've got on the schedule. They've got North Carolina. Obviously, you talk about basketball schools, Duke being on the football schedule. These are 2 teams that view themselves as basketball powerhouses with football secondary, but showing that these 2 could compete at the football level. So I think they're seeing some of these games, that they view those schools as peers, I'd say.
UConn would go undefeated against all these teams if it were a basketball schedule. Yeah, definitely. FIU as well. I'm not going to sugarcoat it here. So are you ready to finally get an invitation to join an actual conference? I mean, you and Notre Dame, the only independent teams left in FBS. So is it power conference or bust, really, in your eyes, as far as getting into a conference? If the American offered UConn a spot as a football-only member, would they scoff it away, or does it have to be, I don't know, Big 10, ACC, Big 12?
It depends who you ask. I mean, you ask me, I'd probably take an American football invite if they offered that today. I think being in a conference ultimately is important for UConn football, just given the tie-ins to bowls, the tie-ins to the playoff system. If ultimately you could, get to that level where you could compete for that, that top, group of 5 spot if you're in a conference of that tier. But I think UConn has shown that they have a desire to be at the P4 table, and they've made their efforts pretty clear. They were close to getting into the Big 12. It seemed just a couple of years ago when that whole latest realignment shuffle went, when Colorado ended up back in the Big 12 and Arizona State. So I think UConn's hopeful that something will shake out. I mean, who knows what the college landscape is going to look like in a year, yet alone 5 years. So I think we'll see UConn with a seat at the table when things truly do shake out.
UConn's definitely in an interesting spot in FBS, and I think it can only go up for them as a program here. So let's get back on track here, actually talking about the team, and you have to start with Joe Fagnano.
Yeah,
what he's been able to do with the Huskies so far this season has been just absolutely nothing short of stupendous. 1,200 yards, 7 touchdowns, but the best stat, 0 interceptions, without a doubt. How is he able to not just be an accurate passer, but how is the offense in general how have they been so good at limiting mistakes such as turnovers.
Yeah, I think one thing that's key with Joe is this is his 7th year of college football. He's been around. Yeah, he's been around the block. He's experienced, and you can see that he's a guy out there who goes in with his plan. He's able to adjust to things, and he's really able to minimize those mistakes. He's been around the game a lot. He knows what people are going to throw at him. He's well prepared, and he's also got a group of playmakers around him on offense that really make this offensive power, this program here on the offensive side of the ball really explode. I mean, you look at guys like Skylar Bell, Cam Edwards. These are guys you could throw some short 3 to 5 yard passes to, and the next thing you know, they're going for 75-yard touchdown. You've got Cam Edwards out of the backfield. They had Mel Brown as well, who unfortunately got injured at the Delaware game, and he's out for probably the rest of this season, who is another explosive back. But they've got a number of playmakers. Shamar Porter, John Nider's been a guy who's really started to come out of the woodwork lately. So he's got a lot of weapons on the offensive side where he doesn't need to force things. He doesn't need to do too much. The UConn offense, for as long as I could remember, has always been a run-focused offense. So obviously having that strong running back room and then having these guys who could just make plays, big yard after catch program here with guys like Skylar Bell, Shamar Porter, who you can, again, I have Joe weekly on my podcast, and we've talked a number of times about his favorite passes are the ones that are 2 to 3 yards, and then he sees them go 70 yards plus on it. So these are guys who can make things work that add a lot to what this offense can do.
As far as weapons that Fagnano has at his disposal, it's definitely looking like Cam Edwards and Skylar Bell are going to be the two big names that the FIU faithful will have to look out for. But talk about some of the other playmakers that you think could give this FIU defense some headaches.
Yeah, those are obviously the two biggest names. Victor Rosa is been kind of slotted up to that back or the second running back spot with Mel Brown's injury. He's a Connecticut local. He's a shifty guy. He's a small guy. Can really make things interesting when he gets the ball out. Whether it's him trying to run or him getting it again on one of these quick 3 to 5 yard passes there. John Nieder's a Connecticut kid as well, a receiver who's really starting to break out. Juice Vereen had a great game the other day. He's a tight end. Shamar Porter's another good wide receiver. So they've got a lot of pieces, and they're bringing out too Oliver Lundberg Coleman, who really made his debut last week against Buffalo. And really made his presence felt. He's a tough runner. I think he had like 30 or 35 yards and just a few carries there, but he's from Sweden. So just bringing a whole roster on the offensive side of these guys who can really just make a number of things happen.
Definitely. Now, when you flip it over to the defense, I feel like this UConn squad, from the stats alone, they must bring a lot of pressure to opposing quarterbacks to rack up 14 sacks this early on in the season. But talk a bit about that defensive line and how much you think they're going to be pressuring Kewan Jenkins in this game.
Yeah, I think the defense is the biggest question mark for this UConn team right now. I think they lost 9 guys from last year's rotation. So it's a lot of new pieces. And Matt Brock runs a 3-3-5 defense, which I know you guys saw against Delaware. But it's not a common look that you get. And it's not a common look for a lot of these players who are new to the system, whether they're coming in as a transfer or what. So I think it's taking some time for these defensive players to adjust. Yeah, UConn's had some difficulty stopping the run this year. So if FIU can attack on the ground, that's been an area that they've been a little bit vulnerable. Same with a little bit on some deep balls with the secondary there. But you've got guys like Omar Diamande at linebacker, Taekwon King at linebacker, Cam Chadwick, a defensive back. You've got some players out there who can make plays. They've got a number of transfers that they brought in through the portal that were at P4 schools. So they've got the talent. I think right now the goal is still trying to get them to fully be caught up in this system and really be meshing and having that communication out on the field to be able to stop guys. It has looked better. It's been interesting for about, again, 3.5 quarters against Syracuse. They held them, I think, to 6 points and couldn't get anything off. But then you saw them get ripped to shreds by Delaware in a shootout game. So you've seen this defense show some really good things and some really not as great things. So I think they're starting to trend in the right direction. You saw some of that against Ball State and against Buffalo. I know Buffalo starting quarterback was out, so they were working with a backup there, but still showing some signs of being able to come together a little bit more defensively.
Yeah, so to highlight the secondary here, like you kind of alluded to it, only 2 interceptions thus far. They've given up some big plays here and there as the season's gone on. How would you say this defense sort of needs to adjust and get ready for an FIU offense that, while obviously very critical the running game is to them, but they are not afraid to throw up some deep balls here and there? What do they got to do to prevent some big plays from the Panthers?
Yeah, I think it's just staying keyed in. You got to stay with your guy. Got to make sure you're turned around there. They've had some PI calls just due to bad positioning out there on the field. But I think it's going to be an interesting matchup with what FIU can do, both running the ball and, as you said, throwing it down the field. They've had a number of passes too where they've broken them up, and you're like, how did the guy not pick that? It's bounced right off his hands or what? So they've been close on some of these interceptions. There were a couple in the Syracuse game, a couple basically in every game you could say where they should have more turnovers than they do. So Jim Moore is a defensive-oriented head coach, so he's working out some of these kinks here, and I think this should be a good test for UConn heading into their bye week, where they have one more test against a team here to give them some things to work on for the second half of the season.
What do you think is, you mentioned the defense, but as far as other things that sometimes you can't control, such as the occasional turnover, not to mention penalties and other things here and there, what would you say is the biggest overall weakness of this UConn unit?
One, it's probably the defensive side and just giving up some big plays. They've been gashed for some big runs. They've given up some big pass plays. One thing I'd like to see a little bit more from this defense is that after UConn offense goes down and scores, is that they could shut a team off pretty quickly and stop them. There haven't been a ton of times where UConn's gone down the field and then the defense forces a 3 and out. It's usually always given up. You saw it in the Delaware game. Basically, every time UConn scored, Delaware went right back down the field and scored. So if this defense can come together and ultimately put up some stops on some big drives, I think that'd be big for this team.
Okay, so I think UConn opened up as like a 10-11 and a hook favorite. It's slid down since then. So UConn, obviously, they're at home in front of a pretty packed stadium, and you're taking on an FIU team that's going to be hungry for a win after that loss to Delaware. What's the one thing UConn needs to avoid doing more than anything else, and what's the thing they really need to hone in on to avoid an upset here on what I also believe is homecoming for the Huskies?
It is homecoming. Again, I think this all ties back to the defense. The offense has shown that week in and week out it could perform at a pretty high level. I know they only put up 20 points against Buffalo, and it was a little bit of a struggle, but I know Buffalo is defensively one of the best G5 defenses in the country. But if this defense can force some stops, allowing the UConn offense to stay on the field for as much as they can. And again, sometimes UConn offense doesn't need a ton of time of possession. They could throw, 3-play, 80-yard drives and be done with it. But I think that the more the offense can stay on the field, I think the better for this UConn team.
What's crazy about that stadium, 22 miles away from campus as well, but you're still packing fans here and there. So how do you see this game going? I'm assuming you're going to say UConn for the W, but how are they going to get it done?
Yeah, again, I think this is a game where we saw what Delaware was able to do against the FIU defense. I know that they put up a number of points on you guys. So I could see this going a little bit similarly, where if the defense could get some stops, UConn could put up some points and win somewhat comfortably, I'd say here. It's been tough to say that, though, given how close all of these UConn games have been this year, with the exception of the game against the FCS opponent in Central Connecticut. But I'm interested to see this one. And I think this is a UConn team that's hungry to keep this momentum heading into the bye week. They don't want to go into a bye week coming off a loss to FIU.
All right, Jared, you've been awesome, my friend. If you could, let the FIU faithful know where they can follow you, as well as the CT Scoreboard podcast, to see how you guys are handling for this game and just UConn content moving forward, because we will see you in a couple years again.
Yes, got my Twitter handle here, at Jared Collar. You can follow the podcast on all social media channels at CT Scoreboard Pod. check out the pod wherever you listen to pods on YouTube. And if you want to hear a little bit from Joe Fagnano to hear his thoughts on this matchup heading into this week, get into the quarterback's mind a little bit, feel free to check it out.
Alrighty, Jared, again, thank you so much. I can't say I'm rooting for UConn this weekend, but I know you guys take on Florida Atlantic to close out the season. So by all means, have your way with the Owls. That won't piss me off at all. So
there we go. We'll hope to do that for you.
Alrighty, thank you. Thank you, Jared, once again.
No problem. Thanks, Jake. Thanks for having me.
All right, so that was the out-of-town segment. Let's head back to the rest of the Paws Up preview as Kevin and I go over this past week in Conference USA, make some CUSA predictions, and pick this game. All righty, that was the CT Scoreboard podcast. Be sure to follow their work, see how they're gearing up for this game against the Panthers. And I hear the tailgating scene there is pretty good. And the whole scene there at UConn, they're packing up that stadium.
It's interesting, right? Because I saw that their place is like 30 minutes away from campus. So
yes. But they're filling seats more than ever because, I mean, you win. Look, you win. You have a great season. You win a bowl game. Look what happens, you know? So it's time to get into Conference USA, Kevin. It's time to look around the Conference of Opportunity, checking in on our foes. Let's go see what happened this past week. Not a whole lot of games, but plenty of action here. And here we go. This is what happened last week. So New Mexico State beats New Mexico 38-20. That was a sellout. I don't know if you saw that, Kevin. That was a sellout.
I did see it. Yeah, but New Mexico State sucks.
Yeah. Damn. Okay. Old Dominion beats Liberty, and the Flames are free falling. Kevin, 21-7.
Well, that's what happens when you play real teams.
That's true. Old Dominion's a good group of 5 team.
I didn't realize Old Dominion was in Norfolk.
Norfolk, yeah, that's an in-state. That's why they play Virginia Tech so often, and for some reason they always kick their ass. I don't know how, but they do.
They're playing Virginia Tech soon too.
Yeah,
finally playing a Power Conference opponent.
Kennesaw State's took down Middle Tennessee as I thought they would. Thank goodness. Middle Tennessee is that. I mean, that was a bad loss. Neither team looked amazing, to be fair, but yeah, I had a feeling that they would win.
Yeah, unfortunately, Middle Tennessee just isn't very good. They can't run the ball.
Yeah, they can't. They can't really do much. Southern Miss beats Jack State, and it wasn't even close. It was not even close, Kevin.
Yeah, disappointed with the Cox.
I had a feeling that they haven't played well on the road. First Georgia Southern, now this game. They just haven't done.
Well, they kept it close to Georgia Southern. So
yeah, well, still they gave up 1 billion points, just like they gave up 1 billion points to Southern Miss. So Western Kentucky beats Missouri State. We talked about how this could be a trap game for the Hilltoppers, and it was. Like they barely got out of Springfield, Missouri.
Most State's legit. Don't count them out.
And then Scotty Walden, Kevin, I made the unfortunate decision to watch this game because it was late and I had nothing better to do. And my God, both offenses were basura, and UTEP committed 1 billion turnovers, and La Tech just like they were booing at the start of the fourth quarter. The crowd there.
I mean, I don't blame them. It's been disappointing. They have a good offense. It's just their defense sucks.
So that was it. Standings wise, I went 6-0. It was a clean sweep, but Kevin unfortunately had to take Jack State over Southern Miss. You had to believe in Cam Cook University, and it cost. So total records, I'm at 37-11. Kevin, you're at 35-13. Only 2 games back. So this is why this might be
clean sweep.
This is why this is going to be so interesting. Let's take a look at the schedule this week. Only 3 games, not that many. Most teams are on bye
because we're only picking 2. That never mind. Whatever.
Yeah. We're only.
Give me the Bearcats. New Mexico State, unfortunately, is just not very good. I think the Sam Houston Bearcats are due for a win. Give it to Phil Longo. He gets his first win all black.
Yes, that is a good point. They are due for a win. They're taking on David Yost University. Which
you think you go 0-5?
Yes, I do.
Wow.
I'm taking that. Here's why. New Mexico State's pissed, right? They just lost to their rivals. It gets heated.
Pissed?
Sam Houston, I think they're used to it at this point. They're 0-4, dog, and they
they've played
not a single game has really been that close.
I don't think they're good, but I don't think they're bad to the point where they're going to lose.
Would you agree that these are the two worst teams in CUSA?
Yeah, so far, yeah.
I'm going to take the
I'm sorry. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. What's this guy's name? Their coach, Manny something.
Yeah.
Oh my God. What's the New Mexico State coach's name? Tony Sanchez. He's going to get fired, I think, at the end of the year.
But not after this game. Give me the Aggies. Give me David Yost. They're going to dunk Gatorade on our boy Yost. All righty. Friday. That's Thursday again. This was recorded way ahead of time.
McIver. Give me the Hilltop.
You're taking the Hilltoppers? That's a good, excellent pick. Great pick, Kevin. Not so fast, my friend. I'm taking the Fighting Blue Hens. I am in on the Delaware hype train.
So either one of us is going 0-2.
Yes.
Or the other one's going 2-0.
Listen.
Oh, well, actually, hold on. Unless we both agree on this UConn game.
We'll find out here in a sec, but Western Kentucky barely scraped by a Missouri State team. And Missouri State, I think Delaware is better than Missouri State. They got to go up there. It's not going to be cold, but it's going to be uncomfortable for the Hilltoppers. And they are going to pull it off. And this is going – you know what this win's going to do, Kevin? It's going to convince the NCAA to abolish that rule. That first year,
they really have to, regardless of the team.
They should, but maybe a win like this will really help them.
Well, Jacksonville State made the bowl game. There's another team that made a bowl that year too, and I'm blanking on the team. Oh, JMU.
Yeah,
made a bowl that year. So
because there wasn't enough qualified 6-win teams or something like that.
Delaware may make the bowl game.
Wow, this is the first time we've had two differentiating opinions on games, and it's only the two others, not FIU CUSA games. That's crazy. So
I think we're going to differentiate on this one too. So
there's only one more game to talk about. It's time to ask a big question. Who will win? The most important question asked here before we decide. Let's see what EA cooked up, and I got to say they cooked. Kevin, they cooked big time. Let's check it out.
Shoot it over.
We sensed a great deal of confidence, almost a smugness from this coaching staff. And these guys on the field, it's as if they knew they were going to win.
Wow. That is it's actually similar to the 2023 game, except they didn't pee down their leg in the second half.
Yeah, exactly.
All righty.
We're
going to start with Kevin here. Who is going to win between the FIU Panthers and the UConn Huskies in football, not basketball?
Well, we know who would win in basketball, but give me the UConn Huskies defeating the FIU Panthers.
Oh!
By final score, and actually I don't even know what score to shoot out there, but I'm going to go 37-28. UConn. High-scoring game that UConn will eventually just pull away a little bit.
That's a good pick there, Kevin. That's a good pick. But not so. I'm just kidding. I can't look beyond the fact that, yes, UConn's at home. Yes, they have experience taking down, or at least competing against top-quality opponents, not just last season, but even already this season. Overtime loss to Syracuse. Very impressive. And then, obviously, a better performance against Delaware than us. And they're entering this game on a two-game winning streak. I think this was a game I predicted FIU to lose anyway, even to get to 6 wins. So I'm not mad about it. Yeah, I'm taking the UConn Huskies to win. And honestly, that's actually a great final score Kevin gave. Shoot. I'm gonna say it's a little bit low scoring. It's gonna be a lot of points, but a little less than what Kevin said. I'm gonna say 30-24. 30-24. It's gonna be close, but
I like that too.
I think the Huskies
yeah, they'll just pull away at the end, unfortunately. But yeah, hey, I hope I get one wrong, and it's that one.
Even if they don't win. I want to see a McGuire Anderson.
So technically, we could both go 0-3 on the week, which would be a first time for
one of us is probably going at least 1-2, and the other is going 2-1.
Someone could go 3-0 too.
So there's either.
Let's clarify. I'm hoping that is the L for me.
Yes. I'm okay with that L for the UConn. I am very much okay. I want FIU to win, and if they do
against FIU against the G5 team.
If they beat UConn, I actually feel really good about their chances against Western.
Sure. Yeah, I agree.
I feel good about that. So
alrighty.
Final thoughts before we wrap up here, Kevin. Not really much to say. It's on CBS Sports Network, if I'm not mistaken. The radio team will be there. So if you want to,
it'll be Corey and Nicholas Carrillo, two Paws podcast legends.
Oh, so not Jackson?
No, Jackson. Jackson McDonald was a late scratch.
3:30 p.m. from not so frigid East Hartford, Connecticut right now. So we hope you all enjoy. We have an episode of the Paws Up podcast the week after. Should be pretty fun with an ongoing sport. Talking to one of the stars of an ongoing sport here at FIU next week. So that should
yeah. Hey, we were cooking. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, we're definitely cooking, just like hopefully the FIU team will be doing. But fingers crossed. So we'll see y'all for the halftime report, post-game show. And until then,